All right, let's paint a picture here. It's 2 in the morning, right? The reefer is packed to the gills. You're at the depot. You go to hit the switch. You're expecting that familiar roar of the diesel engine. And instead,
Silence.
just silence, maybe a little sputter, then nothing. You look at the display, and there it is, alarm code 20.
Engine failed to start. It's a classic one, but, it's way more complex than just a dead engine or a bad battery. This is a specific failure in the unit's cranking logic.
And the stakes here can be pretty high depending on the mode you're in.
That's right. If you're in diesel mode, this is a prevent, or worse, a shutdown alarm.
Which means no cooling, and your cargo is at risk.
But, and this is a really key distinction, if you're running electric standby, it's often just a lug alarm. The unit notes the failure, but it keeps running on shore power.
That distinction is exactly why we need to get into what the computer is actually thinking. It's not just cranking endlessly until the battery dies. There's a very rigid logic to it.
Very rigid. The system is generally programmed to attempt to start the engine twice.
Just 2 tries.
What, just 2? But the duration of those attempts, that hinges entirely on the ambient temperature.
I was looking at this, and the threshold is so specific, it all pivots around 10 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's the magic number, -12 Celsius. If it's warmer than that 10 degrees, the logic is pretty standard.
Okay, what's standard?
It'll crank for 15 seconds, take a pause, then crank for another 15. If it doesn't fire up by then, bang, the alarm sets.
But below 10 degrees, in the dead of winter, the whole strategy just shifts.
It completely shifts.
Yeah.
The first attempt is incredibly short. We're talking only 6 seconds.
6 seconds. Why so short?
Well, you can think of it as a primer. The oil's thick, the block is freezing. The system just gives it a quick nudge to get fluids moving without draining all the battery voltage right away.
And if that little nudge doesn't work, then what?
Then comes the marathon. The second attempt is a full 30 seconds long. That's the brute force attempt. The system is committing maximum battery power to try and generate enough heat and compression to overcome that cold.
No, normally this is a prevent alarm, so you get a chance to fix it. But there are times when this gets upgraded. When does it become an immediate shutdown?
Good question. If that code 20 pops up right after an alarm code 17 or a code 84.
Those are the engine failed to crank alarms.
Exactly. If it sees those first, the system basically decides something is critically wrong and it just locks you out. It's protecting the starter and the ring gear from damage.
And what about code 63, engine stopped?
That one's even stricter. If the engine was running and then just died unexpectedly, that's code 63, the computer assumes a major failure. Maybe fuel starvation, maybe mechanical.
So it's more cautious.
Way more. It only gives you one single crank attempt to restart. If that one fails, it shuts down instantly. No second chances.
So the code is active, the engine's silent. I bet the first instinct for most techs is to just pop the doors and start cracking fuel lines.
Which is a mistake.
Yeah.
You're flying blind at that point. Before you touch a single bolt, you need the story the computer is telling you.
So, laptop first.
Always. Hook it up, download the service watch data with WindTrack. You need to see the conditions at time of alarm.
Because that tells you why it failed, not just that it failed.
Nailed it. Did the battery voltage drop to 7 volts during that 30-second crank? Then you know it's electrical.
Uh-huh.
Or did the voltage hold strong but RPMs never registered? Then you're looking at a sensor or maybe something mechanical.
Okay, so once you have that data, then you can move on to the physical checklist. Let's break it down. Flow first, so fuel and air.
Always start with the simplest thing. Check the fuel level. You'd be shocked how often that's the problem.
I believe it.
Then check the fuel solenoid and the fuel pump. Verify they're getting power and that they're mechanically opening. Then, since we talked about that 10-degree mark, check for fuel gelling if it's cold out.
And for air.
Restricted air cleaner. Simple check.
Okay, so after flow, we've got to check for heat.
The glow plugs. And don't just guess. Use the interface board test mode to actually verify they're drawing current. If they aren't heating the cylinder, that cold weather logic we discussed doesn't stand a chance.
Right. And finally, for the Model 50 units, there's an extra layer, isn't there? The electric standby components.
Yep. You got to make sure the electric motor isn't seized up or the clutch hasn't failed, because either one could be dragging the engine down and preventing it from starting.
So it's really a systematic process. Verify your flow, verify your heat, check the mechanicals, and you should keep an eye out for any associated codes like code 15 for the air intake heater or that code 84 restart null.
And remember, this alarm will not clear itself. Once you find and fix the issue, you have to manually clear it from the keypad.
So I think the big takeaway here is to respect the logic. Understand why that timer is short or long, and let the data from Service Watch point you in the right direction.
Absolutely. It can turn what feels like a 2-hour guessing game into a 20-minute targeted fix.
So it leaves you with a question, really. Next time you see that failed to start, what's your first move? Are you reaching for the wrench? Or are you grabbing the laptop first? To see what that voltage was doing the exact second it failed. The answer might save you a lot of cold fingers. Thanks for listening.